Alright, you all got this file opening up with texture and everything. Okay, texture doesn't matter. Okay, so today I will be introducing you to the weight painting process in Blender. Now, there will be a page in with file content that you can read and reference. Okay, but basically today we're going to do hands-on weight painting process. Okay, and I'm just going to give you a very quick and brief introduction to weight painting through this page and where you can find material. Now, weight painting, what is it? Weight painting is basically after you're done with rigging the character, you like stamp the rig and you have all the bones at the correct positions for the character. Next step is you're going to assign which bone on the body of the character is going to control which part of the body. Right? For example, the arm bones is going to control the arms. Alright? Lower arm is going to control lower arms. Okay? And in the previous last session, I have guided you through placing the bones as well as to rename them in a way that is going to be ready for this next step. Alright? And the most important thing that you want to do is placing the bone at the correct positions. Meaning that if the bone name lower arms or upper arms, lower arm like this, the bone should be in the middle, okay, of the geometries. Alright? Afterward, we can start this process of weight painting. Now, not to scare you or anything, but normally speaking, the weight painting is going to be the most time consuming, and it takes a little bit of practice. It's not like I do in class and you can do it in one day or anything. Alright? So be aware of that. Where's my pen? Oh yes. Now, I'm teaching you this is the origin of all the words. And then you have painter, right? And then you have painting. And then you have weight painting. Okay? So this is the origin of all the words. E-A-I-N, pain. Okay? Being an artist is a pain. Alright? Just aware of that. Alright? But I try to make it less painful for you. Because the teacher has went through all those pains so that you can be a little bit less painful in your process. Alright? Now, just before we go, there are some definitions and some concepts that you need to understand about weight paintings. The first one is weight or weight paintings is the process of distributing how much of influence, okay, the bone, a particular bone is going to have on a particular vertex. Okay, so in Blender we have 3 units. Okay, the point is vertex, right? the edge, or the line over here is the edge, and then you have the face. Okay? And in wave painting, it's work only with vertex. It means that later on, when I switch on the wave painting mode, you're going to see all this color. And when you click on each of the vertex on the model, you're going to see a value. And corresponding to this value, 0 means no influence. Okay, so if you click on a vertex and you see blue colors, and then you see on the right side of the screen value 0, it means that that board doesn't have any control or any influence on that particular vertex. Then on the other extreme, you have the value of 1, red or full control. Okay, what does it mean influence? It means that when I move the bones, those vertices are going to move along if the value is at 1, okay? And if the value is at 0, it doesn't move, okay? Later, keep that in mind, because later I'm going to show you, okay? And vertex group over here is basically, it's going to be the same name as the bone that you are going to work with, all right? And the vertex group over here is the way that Blender store the value of influence. How many influences, how much of influences the particular bone is going to have on a certain vertex or group of vertex. All right? So that, just keep that in mind. And then you can see this demo over here with a very simple blob, okay? And then you have the symmetrical wave painting over here. And then at the end, okay, you're gonna see 2 examples of wave painting correction demo that I have made over the years, and it's collected here, okay? And then you have external sources over here that you can see. But basically, okay, in this page over here, you should find all the tools necessary that you need for the process of wave painting and wave paintings corrections. All right. So now I'm going to use this character over here to show you the workflow directly in the characters. Okay. And then from there, you can start working on your characters. We'll do the manual way first, which is the hard way first. So you learn the basics, and then afterwards, I'll show you the automatic way. All right? Now, we're going to do first with the head bone over here. All right? Now, if you go into, you click on the model over here, okay? It has to be on the mesh of the character. And if you go into Wave Paint, okay, it's going to open up a whole new menu, a whole new view. And basically over here you can do the assignments of weight to the vertex. What does it mean? Okay, it means that I'm going to be able to buy a bone, okay, with a group of vertex or a geometry. You need to be able to create a corresponding name for the vertex group. All right, and to be able to do that, you go into data, okay, on the model, okay, and then you're going to see a tab over here called vertex group. And what you're going to do is you're going to add in a new vertex group, okay, and we're going to call this one head. You need to write the exact capital letters and normal letters over here, because if you mess up with the name, if the name are not corresponding, the binding between the bones and the vertex is not going to work. Is that clear? Yeah? So think about it as if you do P5.js or you do interactive web design, right? You need to rename them exactly with capitals and normal letters. Okay, there's that kind of distinctions. And think about here as an URL, okay? And you store some information over here. Think about it that way. All right, so you have the vertex group over here, enable. And then you can use the weight pen tools over here, and then make sure the weight is 1. Okay? And then you can start rotating around the model. Now, if you don't see the wireframe over here, you need to go to the viewport overlays and enable wireframe. Okay? By default, if you go into weight pen, it should display all the edges over here and the wireframe. Okay, but if it not, turn it on in the viewport overlay, because basically we need to work on the vertex. Okay, now I'm going to use the weight and set this one as 1, meaning that when I paint on the point over here, it's gradually going to become red. Okay, and let me paint another one over here. Okay, just 1, just to show you. Okay, so this point over here is red. Just make 1 point red, and then wait for me. Okay. Okay, 1 point red. Doesn't need. If you cannot make this point red, it's because you paint in the middle. You paint on the edges and you paint on the faces. It doesn't change the color. You have to paint on the point. Ồ đúng nhờ? You got the weight already? Yeah. In the file? Yeah. Now this is the old file download, the new file. Yeah. Now, who cannot make the point over there? Okay, fine. This one, uncheck this one. Okay. Now, if you cannot make the point, it's because my file has this button, enable vertex selections. You uncheck these buttons so that you can paint on whichever the points. Okay, because basically this button is some kind of a mask. Okay, if I press on, that I will be able to highlight and select the points. Okay, but for now, just uncheck this button. Okay. Just do 1 point. Yeah. Uncheck that button. Uncheck, and then you can select. Zoom out. Okay. You go to your wireframe. Okay. Ổn không nhỉ? Yeah? Okay, just before we do anything with this, I'm going to show you a side menu. If you press on N on your keyboard in the weight pen mode, alright, you're going to see okay, if you press on N on your keyboard and then you turn on the vertex selection over here, what does it mean? It means that now you can select any of this point over here by holding Alt on your keyboard. Okay, holding Alt on your keyboard, and you'll be able to select one point by one, and if you want to select multiple points, you can hold Shift as well. Shift Alt, you'll be able to select multiple points. Alright. So now, what do I want to do is I want to select the exact point that I have just made over here. The one that I painted red. Okay. And then if I see on the item menu over here, if you don't see it, press N. Okay. You're going to see the vertex weight menu over here, and you see the value of the heads over here is 1. Alright, and if I reduce this one to 0.5, it's going to be blue, okay, corresponding to the graph over here. Green, sorry, a little bit of green. Okay, and if I reduce this one to 0, okay, it's going to be all blue. Ổn không nhỉ? Yeah, so just want to show you this. What does the color means, basically? Alright, and now we switch back to the value of 1. Okay, and now we exit this mode over here. We go back to object modes. Alright, and then we need to click on the armature, because the weight pen works on the mesh. Okay, and to be able to pose the character, we need to go back to the armature. So we go to pose mode over here. Alright, on the bones, and if we try to rotate, yes, because I need to assign, just a minute, I skip one step. Okay, sorry about this, I skipped one step. Now before you do any of the weight painting, you're going to select the bone first, the mesh first, and then the bone. Alright, and what you're going to do is you're going to Control P, set parent to. And then what you're going to do is you're going to set with empty groups. Yeah, with empty groups. And what does it mean now? If you go into the meshes over here, you're gonna see that a new armatures modifier has been added, and basically it takes the objects armature 1 as the master objects. Okay, and if you go into the data, you're gonna see that it's created all of this group for us, vertex group corresponding to a name of each of the bones over here. And now if we switch to weight panes, okay, you're gonna see this one over here with objects, with the points that we have created. Okay. And now if we go into the pose mode, we should be able to deform this poise using the armature. Okay, I'm going to do this one over here. Okay, just to show you. Okay. If you be able to make the bone move, raise your hand if you be able to make the bone move and the geometry move. Nobody? One person only? Okay, I do it again now. To be able to do that, basically, you need to make sure that the base body, which is the mesh over here, is the child of the armature. So you're gonna click on the mesh first and then shift select to select the armature. Control P with empty groups. Alright. Mesh first and then the armature. Shift. Done. Okay. And wait me. R. Okay. Can you do that? Yes or no? Move nothing ever. Show me. Okay. Now, if you see the pink color, it's because the texture is missing. Switch back to the solid mode over here, so you can see the colors. The solid mode is this one over here, because by default my file will switch everything to material preview, but you switch back to solid mode. Yes, because go back to the object mode. object, and then you go to the mesh, yeah, with it. Now, brush is too big, okay? So you're going to be able to see that in some of the points over here. Now you move. So here, just let this one over here. Right? So this is the geometry that is being affected. On the head over here, we will remove. Okay, snap back. Now, anyone who wasn't able to correct the weight bin? Anyone? Everyone can do this, right? Close the door, please. Hello? Yes or no? Yes. All right. So in this very quick demo, this is just to show you the connection between the bones and the vertex weight over here. Because when you're going to see it on this is the area of the influences, all right? And as a result of this color, when I move this bones over here, the whole geometry that is affected by the red colors over here is going to move along with the head bones. All right, does that make sense? Okay, and on the vertex now, you're going to see that every time that I want to modify the weight, okay, or assign how many vertex is going to follow this head bones, I need to click on the head's vertex group over here. If I don't click on the head vertex group, I click on other vertex group over here, torso, for example, they won't move, okay, with the head bones. So let me just demo this very quickly. On the head bones over here, for example, I want the whole heads of the characters to move along. Okay, so I can paint on this, and one by one you're going to see that it follows the rotation of the heads. Okay, and as I paint on it, okay, so I show you a deformation first, okay, just to let you know that when you run into this kind of problem in weight painting, it's because either you don't have the value of 1 for the bone that is controlling the geometry, or you have other bones controlling the vertex over here. Okay, so if I give this the value of 1, you're going to see that it's basically make the head of the character follow. Okay, but you need to be able to paint on the points. Okay, otherwise, okay. So try to paint the whole head of this character in red. Okay. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, so I'm going to paint all of this character in red. The head. Can change the radius here a little bit, just to make everything faster. Okay, and try to avoid vertices that is not belong to the head of the character over here. Ổn không nhỉ? Hello. Trying to paint this head as red. Okay, if you don't see the color changing, it's because you paint on, for example, you paint on the lines over here, nothing changed. You have to paint on the points. Okay? Okay? And keep this part around the collar or the neck of the character green. Okay? Ổn không nhỉ? And now you see the whole head of the character over here. Follow the head bones. Now don't paint on the hands because it's going to deform the hands. Concentrate on the head only because let me show you. This is what's going to happen if you paint on the wrong part of the body. For example, all right, if I paint on this part of the lower legs over here, I increase it to 1. Or I paint on the torso over here. You're gonna see deformations, basically. Okay? Because on the vertex group of head, you can only paint the red colors around the head over here. So basically you're telling the program, hey, using this bone to control this area of the body only. Is that clear? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah? Because if you paint underneath over here, you're going to see deformations. Because basically this part of the body is not supposed to be controlled by the headboard on top over here. Does that make sense? Yeah? Ổn không nhỉ? Yes or no? Okay, I show you everyone. Okay, deformation right here because you have painting on it. Go back to wet paint. And you see the color change. And remove. Now, if you happen to see some of the deformation over here is undesirable, you can switch to the pen over here and you select the weight of 0, which is basically removing the weight, okay, and you repaint on it. Weight paints, and you go into the weights over here, reduce this one to 0. If it's 1, it's adding, the 0 is removing. Ổn không nhỉ? Yeah? And if you want to reduce it or increase it, very slowly we're going to add the weight of 0.5, for example. And if we try to paint on this, it's going to add only 0.5 every time, okay, to the vertex over here. Okay, remove, you use the weight pen over here. Alright. Or, if you have the same weight over here, but the brush doesn't do anything, or you feel like you cannot paint on it, check if you have this button selections on. Uncheck this button because this button is basically vertex selection. You need to select on the vertex to be able to paint on them. Alright, so remove this one and you'll be able to paint on it or remove the weight on it. Alright, second way you can remove is you can go into the vertex selection over here, and then on the head you're going to see the values 0.5 that I have added, and you zero it out. Okay, it's just 3 ways you can do it, either with the brush or you can do it on the vertex weight over here. Remove this one to 0 and it should snap back to the ổn không nhỉ? Try to deform any part of the characters over here and see. Yes.
So when you focus wait, yeah. I feel something. I'm checking something.
There's some deformation, right?
Yeah.
Hold it. Rotate. Right. You see the deformation. Edit mode. Yes, too large. And somehow when you bend like that, the foil will just still have some. If you go back to the weight base, yeah. So if you turn on the vertex selection over here, you select one sample. Part, you want to see 0.4. Right. Okay. Okay, just a quick way to, you see, still a little bit blue. Really blue, right? So, weight 0 and then turn on the right way. Start printing. One by one it's going to be removed. Okay? Yeah. Yes. I show you the quicker way. And you need to know the first. Okay? That's correct. You have to click on this. Okay? And then you select the vertex. It's gonna show on the it's gonna be options, I think, in map. And what is the version of this printer? Oh, okay. So there's a change in the settings over here. Okay. Yes. Okay, I just discovered that if you have 4.5, the newest version of Blender, when you vertex select over here, you're gonna see the vertex weight being moved to the size over here, basically. Okay, this is 4.5, but basically it's just the same thing. Okay, it's just the same thing. Yes. Go to the web pane mode. Alright. And zoom in, you should be able to see some blue colors underneath. You can use the brush to mix some light or blue color. Now, a quick way to fix it. Select the pose mode. Okay, so let it be like that. Because when you fade, you let the brush with object mode. Then you go back to wave fade. Then you're gonna see all this information. You're gonna remove it. Alright. That's it. Just remove it. Okay. Now, I see a common mistake over here. When you try to paint the head of the character, maybe the radius is too big, and you paint, for example, one over here. But then it's going to affect the body of the character, for example. Okay, or it's going to affect the shoulder. Okay, the way to fix it is you're going to pose the character in a way that you see the deformation the best, because sometimes it's very difficult to tell from the lighter color blue over here. Maybe it just has 0.5 of influence. Okay, you need to go back to edit mode, object modes, and then go to pose mode, and then you pose the character in a way that you see the deformation the best, and then you go to weight paint mode again, and then you try to remove it from here. Okay, going in, and then you start removing it. Okay, and it's going to restore the form of the character. And you need to reduce the radius over here until you be able to fix all of this. Okay? Okay? So I show you the hard way first, because you need to understand, yes.
You need to also select the head vertex group, so when you delete the information.
Yes, you need, this is what I'm trying to emphasize over here, you need to work on the head vertex group when you want to make sure that the head vertex over here control only the heads. So the vertex group and the bone has to be of the same name, and you have to select it as well, because now if I switch to torso, it's going to be blue, because basically the torso over here doesn't have any weight yet, right? Chest doesn't have anything. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Okay. So I show you the hard way first, and I'm going to show you quicker way. Now, you're going to see that the whole body over here, there's this point over here which I need to go in and I fix. Okay, I can either try to paint over here and go inside the body and try to paint in the back over here as well, or there's a quicker way to do it, which is basically if I go into the vertex selection over here and I click on and I try to select all of this together, which is okay, and then I remove the weight from here, okay, or I can go back to edit mode, alright, which is easier to select, and then on the armature over here, if I click on this button, it's basically going to give me the pose inside of the edit mode. It's enable the pose inside of edit mode so that I can see the deformation. And now it's going to be easier for me to select all of this vertex together. Alright, I can either use the brush selects over here so that I can select all of them. Or I can use the box selects over here. Box selects. Alright. And I can use Control plus, say, and Control minus to increase or decrease the selections. If I click on Control and on the numpad I click on minus, it's going to open up. It's going to increase the selections. Alright. And then in the back over here, I select only one, and then I can Control plus to select them. And then I can remove this selections. Okay, this one I don't need to select them. Alright. Okay, so basically I just need to select C. Okay, I select all of this geometry over here on the body of the characters. I'm holding Shift A and using the selection over here, I'm going to select all of this. Okay, so remove the weights over here, remove the selections over here. Alright. So basically, in edit mode over here, it's easier to select all this vertex over here. Okay, and then if I go to weight pane now, you're gonna see all this point selected. And now in the head vertex over here, I can either decrease the weight to 0 or weight panes. I can remove. If I click on remove over here, basically it's going to remove all the weights out of this geometry. Okay, forget about the weight over here. If I click on remove, it's basically going to remove all the weights underneath of the characters over here. Okay, and there are some points which I can go back to edit modes over here and select them as well. Object modes and weight panes, remove, so that I can restore the weights over here. Okay, and on the characters over here, I can click on one point, Control L to select link. Okay, Control L, select link. Okay, This one is increase selections. And this is decrease selection. All right. And then if I go to weight bands, I can remove and restore the form of the deformations over here. Is that okay, guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
Now try to deform, okay, a part of your body, and then try to go edit mode, and then select this point, remove the weight over here. Okay? Try do it. Okay? The weight pane over here, I explained two ways you can remove, either using the brush, which is sometimes you cannot see the very light blue colors. So if you go into if you see any kind of deformations, you go back to edit mode and remove the weight directly from the data over here. Okay? Ổn không nhỉ? Yeah? Okay? So with the second way that I explained, with the edit mode, it is easier for you to select a bigger amount of points. Okay? It's quicker in selections. And then you switch back to weight paint mode, you'll be able to remove them in batch so that you don't have to repaint each one of the points. Ổn không nhỉ? Yeah? Okay? In weight painting, okay, if you see any kind of deformations, make sure you keep the deformation visible by enabling these buttons in Armature, okay, on the modifiers of the mesh. Okay, you're going to see the Armature, and then you click on this edit buttons. It's going to show the model in edit mode but with posing, so that you can see all the deformation in edit mode as well. Ổn không nhỉ? Yes or no? And then I show you the automatic way, but you need to learn the hard way first, because you learn the hard way, you can do customizations. If you learn the automatic way, it's going to you don't know how to fix the problem later. Now, what's going on? That's still in form. The head over there, right? Now go into edit mode. Edit mode, yes. And you have the deformation right there, right? If you go into modifiers, you turn on them already. This button, so that is flat back to the body. And now you can select all the deformations. Select one point, hold control, plus. This will start to remove the part that you don't want. Okay? Using the C buttons. Okay. Please select that. back, and then you go to wait phase mode again. Object data head. Yeah. And then it has some smaller information. Yeah. Quick way. Back, snap you press on this one.
Tô xô em có thể nhìn thấy đấy là cái tô xô nó đứng như thế này, nhưng mà bạn trong phần mềm chưa biết được.
And then select the whole body, not the whole body, the part that is default. Yeah.
Thế thì mới dạy đâu?
Instruction cut, and then go back to waiting. Object data. You have to click on the head because that's the head you need. Right.
Ví dụ ở đây những cái phần có nhưng mà nó sẽ phải lách là base zero. Đúng rồi, thì nó lại nó phải là base zero thì tô của cái đỉnh lúc một phút thì cái cả là nó mất nhưng mà nó bút đi cái đây mà có bút không? Cái này mà nó kia đặt hơn này. Nhưng mà không phải cái mặt nó được xì đường này, giờ một đường cái đường này ví dụ nếu mà đường quanh này có thể là tại vì mà bắt đi nó cái khớp USB số hai cái khác biệt những lúc này anh thấy bên em có phải về cái này để quyết định lại thì nó chỉ thấy được cái phần phạm vi máy cầm cho là nó không ý là cái này nó bị là có cái này rồi có thể dễ siêu điều này Bắt đầu các bạn làm cho mình cái mặt của này lúc mà sẽ phải ra lại thì mình sẽ có cái cách là mình sẽ các bạn hầu ảnh tính là ra hết cả một tô kiểu một cái đi không rút mình là khổ
It's having influence on this. Now, that's the hard way to do it. Okay, you remove the weight bin. What I'm trying to teach you over here is if you want to make sure that there's no deformation on the weight bin process over here, whenever you correct the weight bin, you need to make sure that you weight on the correct vertex group corresponding to the bone. Okay? Because, for example, if I go to the neck over here and I start to paint on the character, for example, or let's do something more extreme, upper arms. Alright, and I start painting on the character. Over here you're gonna see deformations. Right? And you wonder why on earth, even though when I check the weight bin of the head over here is on red, there's no problem. But there's still deformation. It's because, alright, when you see this situation and you don't know which is the vertex group that is having influence on the particular vertex over here, you're going to do one step for me. You're going to click on vertex selections and you're going to select any of these points over here that you see that is man-deformed. Okay, and you're going to see in the list over here, you're going to see all of the vertex group that is having influence on this particular vertex over here, and you see upper arm R, which is around here. This bone is not supposed to control this vertex, right? So you go back to edit mode, okay, and you select the whole head over here, Control L. Alright, and you go to the weight bins and then you search for upper arms. Okay, upper arm are exactly this name over here. You remove it and it's going to fix it. Alright, so when you do weight painting, this kind of error is going to happen because maybe when you paint the brush is too big. Okay, so one way you can avoid that is you select, for example, for the head over here, you select first the head only. Alright, you select the head first. See? You can use B for box selections, or you can use and holding shift so that you can add in the selections. Alright, so it's easier for you to select. And I'm going to remove all the selections over here. Alright, something like this. And then now if you go into the head over here, you search for the name, you go into assign a value, you type in the value over here 1, and then you click on assign. It's going to give the whole character the value of red as you have done with the brushes, which is a little bit more messy, because if you zoom out, for example, you still have the radius over here, you paint on it, it's going to be affected other area. Okay, so the deformation over here, how can you fix it? It's basically you can use the weight paint over here, uncheck vertex group, and then you can reduce the weight over here to 0.5, for example, 25, and then you brush and you fix them. Okay, so the brush over here is basically to is helping you to smooth out the and then you can use the blur tools over here as well. Okay, just to blur it in a little bit over here. Blur tools, blur it in. Alright, so you blur out the colors over here, so the transition between the heads and the neck is less obvious. Alright, so you blur out over here a little bit. Okay. And then, okay, this is just to show you. It's hard, I know, but that's the way that this program works, and there's no other way. When you want to manually correct the weight paint, you need to do all this thing. All right. On the transition between the head and the neck over here, you need to give the neck the color green, so that basically this area of the vertex over here has both the influence of the head and the influence of the neck. What do I mean by this? Okay, if I search for neck now, okay, and I switch back to edit mode, okay, I'm going to select this loop cut over here, this loop cut over here, this loop cut over here, and then this loop cut over here, over here. This loop cut over here, and the area around here, something like this, eh? And I assign the value of 0.5 to this. Assign, okay? It's going to fix the deformation of the neck over here, because now if you go into the neck, it's basically have this kind of green colors. Alright, so for the transition, the joint between the head and the neck over here and the shoulder to the upper arms is always going to be 0.5 in this area of the joint, or the bottom of the bones over here. Okay, because that area is naturally influenced by two bones that connect together. Does that make sense? Yeah? Pose mode. Okay, so now I can pose the head of the characters over here. Okay, and the neck of the character over here. Okay. Oh, đúng nhỉ? And then, okay, I can go back to the weight band, and then I can expand 0.5, for example, and I use this brush over here to extend this a little bit. And then this one 0.5, I can brush it a little bit over here. So this is basically the hard way to do the weight paint. And this is the head, okay? And you see over here I have a green value, the transition between the head and the neck over here. Okay, I can extend this one a little bit over here, but not with 0.5. Okay, I reduce this one to 0.25. Okay, and then I can paint on this. Ổn không nhỉ? Yeah. A little bit harder. It's manual weight paint. Okay. But I show you how you can fix the deformation first. Alright? So later on you understand why when you assign the automatic weight, a certain part of the body of the character is deformed. Now, question for you. What are the procedures you need to apply when you see the deformation of the character? What are the steps you need to do to define how to fix or to resolve the deformation of the character? What is the first step? Hello. What is the first step when you see deformation? Huh?
Go to edit mode.
Edit mode to check what?
To check the text face and then go to weight band to remove.
Yes. Okay. You go into the edit mode over here. Select that particular vertex. Okay, and you see the vertex weight over here, or you can do that in weight pane as well. Click on these buttons. You see the neck over here 0.5, and then you go into vertex group. For example, neck over here, and then you remove. All right. Now, I'm going to show you the faster way to do this. Okay? Because you have learned how to fix the problem manually. I'm going to show you the faster way to do it. But be aware that with all the character that has clothes that is distant to the body, like very long dress, or you have hairs, you always have to go back to manual weight pen. Okay? And if you have extra rig for the character, for example, roof rigs or like bottom rig, more or less you have to go back to manual weight pens and remove them, and fix the weight pen problem. Okay? So be aware of the procedure. Now, if I go to object modes over here, and I go to I select first the mesh, and then I select the armature. Control P. Now, instead of with empty groups, I'm going to click with automatic weights. Alright, click on it. And basically now if you go into the character, now you're going to see that the vertex group remain the same, but this time if you go into weight pen, you click on any of the bones over here, pelvis for example, you're going to see that it's assigned the weight pen for you already. Upper legs, alright, and lower legs, alright, foot. So basically that's the reason why you need to position the bone in the middle of the geometry. And also what I ask you is to delete the geometry that is covered by clothes, because if you have an overlapped layers of clothes and body mesh, the inside mesh, when you move the bone, is going to stick out of the clothes. Alright? So now it's easy, because the automatic weight over here will let you, if you go to pose mode now, you'll be able to pose the character. Yeah? You can pose the leg now. Alright? You can pose the leg and you make it wax. Okay, that drops. Easy? Easy for you? No. Oh, what if I explain it at the beginning? Oh. But it's not that easy, because that's why I have to explain the hard way first. Because you see my model here, all the clothes is following the body. But you have a width of clothes, or you have like more layer of clothes, it's gonna cause problems with weight painting. Okay? So that's why you need to learn the manual way. And it's, what is it? Spell with me. P-A-I-N. Pen. Okay? Pen turn, pen pen. Okay? Now, after you're done, I have a question for everyone. You see when I pose the character over here, the earring is floating and it's not connected to the body. Can somebody offer me a solution to fix this based on what we have learned? What is the problem? What is causing the earring not following the body? Huh? Huh? Combine mesh? Can you elaborate on that? What?
Like you have the base body and the earring has two separate mesh.
No, the earring is the same as the base body. You see, when I select on the base body, it's one mesh. Why it's not following? Yes. Huh? Doesn't have a bone. One possibility. Another explanation for this. Huh?
When you like look at this overhead, this don't select the earring.
There's no weight band on this. Okay? I'm gonna show you. If I now go into the head vertex group over here, I click on this and I go to weight band, you're gonna see that the whole earrings over here is color blue, which, what does it mean? Color blue, what does it mean in weight band? No influence, right? No connections, no relationships. The bone doesn't know the geometry, and the geometry doesn't know the bone. Okay? Nothing. So how to fix it? Yes, weight band. Or you can click on the head over here, crank this up to 1, and then you select the whole using the selections over here, or you go into the edit mode, Control L, weight bands, and you click on the side, and it snaps back to the the ears. Oh, yeah. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. And this is to show you the limitation of automatic weights. The reason why the earring doesn't follow, because it's made up of a separate mesh. And if you take a look at the bones of the heads over here, it's very distant. Okay, the distance between this bone and the earring is very large. And as a result, when you try to automatic weight bands with the head bones over here, it doesn't reflect the earring. Yeah. Another way, advanced technique over here. Somebody mentioned it doesn't have a bone, right? Who mentioned that? Yes. Now, when you rig and when you weight band, I'm going to reset this one. Pose mode, clear transform on. Pose, clear transform on. Okay. Now, you can add an extra rig or extra bone to control this earrings. If I go to edit mode, and from here I extract one bone. Alright. On P, disconnect bone. And then I move this one around here. Scroll it down. And then to be able to control this earring, I'm going to go back to object modes, edit modes, and then I'm going to add in the exact name of this neck 001 over here. I'm going to add a new vertex group. And then I'm going to assign the weight of 1 to this. Alright? And on the head bones over here, I'm going to remove the head bone influence. Remove. Alright? So now, basically, if I go to the pose mode now, I can use this one to control the earrings. Does that make sense? Okay? So for extra bones, you need to create a new vertex group, okay, with the correct names of the bones so that you can control it. Yeah? Ổn không nhỉ? Yes or no? Okay. So I think that should be it for today. Any last question before we go?
So if the head to the left and we have to manually control the air to the left, right?
Now, let's see the pose mode. Yes, this is because you need to do this. But if you extrude the bone from the top of the neck bone over here, if you extrude it from the top of the head over here, it's gonna be a child of the head bone instead. Okay, if I go back to edit mode, I go onto and I press Ctrl P, keep offset, the parent is going to be the head bone, and now if I move the head bones, it's going to follow along. Okay, so that should be it. Yeah. Okay, so that should be it for today, and we see each other next week. Remember, for this weight painting process, reserve 1 week. 1 week for it. And next week on Tuesday, bring any question about weight paint, submit it to the week 6 review. I'm gonna answer. Alright? Bye bye.
Thầy, nếu mà con làm thì con của con là cancer, con định